بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الصلاة خير من النوم. الصلاة خير من النوم. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وبعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. ربنا زدنا علما اللهم أجرنا من النار. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Today, inshallah, we will be continuing with Imam al-Nawawi hadith, the 40 hadith that he has compiled. We will be doing the 7th of them, which talks about nasiha. بسم الله. عن أبي رقية تميم بن أوس الداري رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: الدين النصيحة. قلنا: لمن؟ قال: لله ولكتابه ولرسوله ولأئمة المسلمين وعامتهم. رواه Muslim. The translation of this hadith: on the authority of Abi Ruqayya Tamim ibn al-Aws al-Dari radiyallahu anhu, that verily the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that religion is nasiha. The people said, to whom? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, to Allah, to his book, to his messenger, to the leaders of the Muslim, and to the leaders, to the common folk of the Muslim. So the scholars of hadith have said that this hadith is actually very comprehensive, and it and it covers the whole religion. Just like the hadith of Jibril, which is hadith number 2, which talks about a man who comes in a crisp condition and asks the Prophet ﷺ about certain things about Islam. Some of the scholars even said that even if we lose all the rulings of Islam, this hadith would still suffice for at least a quarter of them, because many rulings can be derived from it. Linguistically, nasiha comes from nasaha, which means to advise. But the linguistic meaning of nasiha means to purify or to gather, which is disperse. We can summarize nasiha to mean wanting good for someone with a sincere heart, because nasiha is a word that can't be described in one sentence, in one word. So the main meaning or main definition in English is wanting good for the thing you are giving to nasiha. So it's impossible to explain nasiha in one word. So when the Prophet ﷺ keeps on mentioning to the book, to his prophet, so on and so forth, the companions ask to whom. It shows their eagerness to implement the knowledge that they want to learn. So first, the Prophet ﷺ says, nasiha to Allah. So what does nasiha to Allah involve? So some points are purifying our hearts, which can be done by fulfilling his rights and the best way possible with ihsan, or striving hard in worship and doing more sunnah actions, cleaning our minds and thoughts from bad ideologies, being sincere in our worship, and we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his sake, and we hate whatever he says to hate for his sake, glorying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his laws, and recognizing the blessings he has over us. Then the Prophet ﷺ says, لِكِتَابِهِ. So what is nasiha? To his book. So believing in the Quran entirely and acting upon it, having great love and glorification for it, striving hard to understand it and to ponder over its meanings, and adorn ourselves with the manners that it teaches us, being pure and being in the state of pureness when we're holding it, and ensure that we read our daily portion of the Quran. Then the Prophet ﷺ says, لِرَسُولِهِ. So what is nasiha? To his messenger. Nasiha to his messenger ﷺ involves believing in him, putting his statement above any other human, not anything, but any other human. Having eagerness to know more about him, like studying his seerah, like when we study the Quran. Follow his sunnah, try to learn more about his manners and how he did it with other people's, loving what he loves and hating what he hates. Then the Prophet ﷺ says, وَلِيَئِمَّةِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. So what is nasiha to the leaders of Muslims involved? So some points are wanting good for them and for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide them to the truth, making dua for them and wanting the ummah to be united under them, and advising them personally, not publicly, and remember not to shame them, and remembering the statement of the scholars that however your rulers will be. Showing respect and love for the scholars and not searching for their mistakes or their flaws, and having trust in them. Then the Prophet ﷺ mentions at last, وَعَامَّتِهِمْ. وَعَامَّتِهِمْ is the common folk. So nasiha to the common folk of the Muslims involves loving them for what we love ourselves, and hating for them what we hate for ourselves, respecting the elders, showing mercy to the youngsters, being happy when they're happy, being sad when they're sad, carrying no envy around them, carrying no envy for them in our hearts, and wishing them only good. So just quick points of this hadith. We need to be eager to seek more knowledge and implement what we learn, just as the Sahaba were asking the Prophet ﷺ, to whom? and directly. The Prophet ﷺ barely even finished his statement, and they would ask him to whom. Giving hadith, giving nasiha is a major part of Islam. We should study more about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we should never belittle a ruling that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided. جزاك الله خيرا. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون. سلام على المرسلين. والحمد لله رب العالمين. وآخر دعواهم من الحمد لله رب العالمين. والسلام عليكم